The night was one of those foggy, surreal after-party walks when everything feels dreamlike. My friend Mike and I had peeled off from the group and headed up to the old hilltop, where a half-broken swing dangled from an oak tree, its rope weathered and fraying. It was a place we'd known for years, a spot that held the spirit of all our teenage dares and mischief. You could see everything from up there, the dim lights of town, street lamps twinkling like stars, and then, stretching out beyond that, only darkness. I'm not sure why we felt drawn to it that night. Maybe it was just the thrill of sneaking off on our own, or maybe we just wanted one last bit of fun before summer started winding down. As we climbed the hill, Mike got that mischievous look in his eye, the kind that said, "One more time, just one more dare." He glanced at the swing, then at me. "Bet I can go higher than ever tonight," he said, flashing a grin that tugged me back to our earlier years. The air was chilly, and the fog that hung over everything added this eerie glow. But it felt safe somehow, like we had a layer of invisibility. I laughed, shrugging, egging him on. We had done this 1,000 times before, swinging to the edge of the world, or at least, that's how it felt. He hopped onto the swing, pushing off, and I watched as he rose higher with each pass, going farther and farther into the fog. His silhouette blurred with every swing, a shadow against the pale night sky, and for a second I thought I could see him hovering, like he was weightless. He was laughing, and I was laughing along with him, both of us caught up in the rush of that moment. But on his third or fourth swing, something felt off. He was higher than I'd ever seen him go, really pushing his luck. And then, without any warning, his right hand slipped. I held my breath, watching as his grip wobbled, his fingers clinging to the rope like it was the only thing between him and the dark stretch below. He wobbled, half smiling, as though he knew he could hold on. I could see it in his eyes. He thought he'd be okay. He had to be, right? We'd fallen from that swing before, landing in soft patches of grass, laughing it off and climbing right back up. But something in the air felt heavier this time. It was like everything around us had changed without our noticing, like the rules of the game weren't what we thought they were. And then, just as he was about to steady himself, his left hand slipped too. Time froze as he leaned forward, arms outstretched, angling for a landing we both thought we knew well. I even let myself relax for a split second, convinced he'd hit the ground with his usual thud and roll, popping back up with that grin of his. Only he didn't. There was a sound, a horrible, heavy sound, sharper than anything I'd heard before. It wasn't the safe, muffled thud we were used to. My laughter died, caught in my throat. For a second, all I could hear was silence, a deep, consuming silence that seemed to stretch on forever. And then reality crashed back in, faster than I could comprehend. I scrambled down the hill, calling his name. My voice echoed around me, swallowed up by the fog, and it was like the hill was empty except for me and that awful, dreadful silence. When I finally reached him, Mike was lying on his side, his face pale, his eyes staring up at the sky. In the dim light, I could see that he had landed on one of the few jagged rocks that dotted the hillside, hidden among the grass. It was a rock I had never noticed before, but it had been enough. I tried to speak, to say something, anything, but my words caught in my throat, and all I could do was kneel there, helpless. My hands shook as I fumbled for my phone, calling for help. Minutes dragged by like hours, but I stayed with him, clutching his hand, trying to tell him that help was on the way, that he was going to be okay. But his eyes looked past me unfocused, as if he was already halfway gone. When help finally came, they said he'd hit the rock just wrong, catching the one spot where his body couldn't take the impact. Mike was there in the hospital for days, slipping in and out of consciousness, his spirit somewhere between here and there. When he finally woke, he was changed. He wouldn't talk about that night, never wanted to hear a word about that swing again. He never went back up that hill, and honestly, neither did I. But sometimes, On foggy nights like that one, I swear I can hear the swing creak, swaying in the wind, the echo of our laughter carried by the mist. And I wonder if, somewhere up there, a part of Mike is still swinging, going higher and higher, forever reaching out for something just beyond his grasp.